How's it going? Back again so soon. I was done for the day, but you know I can't get enough of this trial. You know I am invested heavily in this trial. And it just so happens that Amber Heard is back. She has done a television interview, and there is a preview on this website here for NBC. So, what is Amber Heard saying? Now, I'm going to put it out there and say that she's still deciding not to tell the truth because she's embarrassed. So I'm going to assume still more lies, more nonsense, and so on. But let's just jump into it quickly and see what she's saying for herself.
I don't care what one thinks about me or what judgments you want to make about what happened in the privacy of my own home and my marriage behind closed doors. I don't presume the average person should know those things, and so I don't take it personally. But even somebody who is sure.
People shouldn't know what's happening in the privacy of her own home, but yet she was filming Johnny Depp to use against him in order to attempt to destroy him.
I'm deserving of all this hate and vitriol.
Yeah.
Even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation. You cannot tell me that you think that this has been fair.
Of course, we also touched on what happened in court and what the jury decided. There's no polite way to say it. The jury looked at the evidence you presented. They listened to your testimony, and they did not believe you. They thought you were lying.
How could, I'll put it this way, how could they make a judgment? How could they not come to that conclusion? They had sat in those seats and heard over 3 weeks of nonstop, relentless testimony from paid employees and towards the end of the trial, randos, as I say.
So you don't blame the jury?
I don't blame them. It wasn't, I don't blame them. I actually understand he's a beloved character and people feel they know him. He's a fantastic actor.
Their job is to not be dazzled by that. Their job is to look at the facts and the evidence. And they did not believe your testimony or your evidence.
Again, how could they, after listening to 3.5 weeks of testimony about how I was a non-credible person, not to believe a word that came out of my mouth?
We're going to have more of our exclusive interview with Amber Heard first on today, tomorrow, and Wednesday morning. It's a wide-ranging sit-down, and then we'll have...
That is wild! That is wild. So her whole defense is, because Johnny had his legal team say that she was lying, that the jury would have obviously believed that she was a liar. When, obviously, that's the whole point of having your day in court. She had her team say that he was a liar and a narcissist and an abuser and so on, and she expects us to believe that the jury went against her solely because his legal team did his job and everybody could tell she was lying. So she wants the world to believe, even though the whole world could see she was lying, that we're wrong. We were just swayed by the fact that they said that she's a liar and generally not being a very nice person. It's madness. Like, the tide was so big that you can't just go on TV and gibber nonsense in the hope that you're going to turn the tide around by continuing the same lie. It's mental. It's like we spoke about before, with this kind of wall that goes up, this mental block, and there's no getting through it. And she just doesn't want to give in and will not snap out of it and come back to some sort of normality and start dealing with her problems. Absolutely crazy, but oh my god, like, my mouth was open the whole time there. That is wild. That is absolutely wild. Wow, I cannot wait to see this. So let's see. According to this, we're going to get the full thing tomorrow. Hopefully, it'll be online pretty quickly because this obviously isn't a network we have here in Scotland. So if they go on their website and see if we can find it tomorrow. Okay, so let's see. In a preview of Amber Heard's interview with Savannah Guthrie, she calls out the social media frenzy in the trial, saying, "You cannot tell me that you think that this has been fair. It's completely fair. That was the whole point of being in court. You had your day and you lost. It was fair because you were lying and the whole world knew. It's wild." Okay, actually understand. Heard called the social media frenzy surrounding her case unfair. It was perfectly fair because the world knew you were lying. Okay. The TikTok hashtag Justice for Amber Heard received 27 million views, whilst Johnny Depp's one raked in 20 billions because we knew he was innocent and you were lying. Amber's attorney speaks out. Oh, let's jump into this.
And we are joined now by Amber Heard's attorney, Elaine Charlson. Brett O'Hoff, good morning to you. It's good to see you. First question, how is Amber doing? We saw her hearing that verdict. It took a long time to read. It was a sweeping verdict for Johnny Depp. How did she handle it?
You know, one of the first things she said is, "I am so sorry to all those women out there. This is a setback."
She probably threw her baby off of a wall and then beat her sister. That's probably what happened. Oh, setback for women. It's justice for victims is what it is. Honestly, these people are obscene. How are you going to shame yourself going on national TV and try to slander a victim and promote the abuser and pretend that they're like the victim? It's horrible.
For all women in and outside the courtroom, and she feels the burden of that.
Well, knowing the case and knowing the law as you certainly do, it favors defendants like Amber Heard. Are you stunned that the jury essentially rejected her story?
Well, you know, really what happened here is it's a tale of two trials. Johnny Depp brought a suit in the UK for the same case, and the burden of proof was easier for him there. The son...
Now, funnily enough, I don't know if either of you guys have checked this out yet, but there's a lot of talk all over the internet about the judge in the UK case having a son who worked for a company that is owned by Rupert Murdoch, and there was all these different things in the way that would have actually made the judge biased in favour of Amber Heard. So, yeah, it's not quite the argument that they think it is.
Had to actually prove that it was true, and the court found there, and we weren't allowed to tell the jury this, but the court found that Mr. Depp had committed at least 12 acts of domestic violence, including sexual violence, against Amber. So what did Depp's team learn from this? Demonize Amber and suppress the evidence. We had an enormous amount of evidence that was suppressed in this case that was in the UK case. In the UK case, when it came in, Amber won, Mr. Depp lost.
But here's the thing, you were able to get some evidence that you say demonstrated abuse. You certainly had her test.
I think what's happening here with Elaine is she's embarrassed that she lost. She's ashamed that her team lost. She's ashamed that her and her team looked stupid by having to lie to the public in this case and lose so badly. So therefore is taking the victory from a previous case that basically Amber Heard, or not, it wasn't even Amber Heard's case, the son's case, that the son should never have won because there was extreme biases there. It's ridiculous. Just admit you're not very good at your job.
Testimony, there were pictures, documents, all kinds of evidence, but in point of fact, the jury rejected it. You argued in your closing arguments that if they found even one instance of abuse, and it did not even have to be physical abuse, that they would have to find for Amber Heard, and they didn't.
And the other part to bear in mind here is nothing changed. The op-ed didn't even mention Mr. Depp by name. And so what basically they did here is demonize her. And they did.
She admitted herself at the end of the trial that she wrote that about Johnny. So realistically, again, Elaine is talking nonsense.
They were able to suppress the medical records, which were very, very significant because they showed a pattern going all the way back to 2012 of Amber reporting this to her therapist, for example. We had significant amount of texts, including from Mr. Depp's assistants, saying, when I told him he kicked you, he cried. He is so sorry. That didn't come in.
Is there any other way to interpret this verdict, though?
It's not unlikely as well that Amber Heard did speak to her therapist about there being abuse in the relationship, but due to being too ashamed to admit about being the abuser would lie about what actually happened. And I mean, people with certain personality disorders, one of the symptoms is that they're compulsive liars. They will cheat on their partners constantly. Hence the Elon Musk and James Franco being seen going into her, Johnny's penthouse when Johnny wasn't there, and so on. So yeah, you can't believe that.
This jury, for whatever reason, and I hear you on some of the evidence that they didn't hear, listening to Amber Heard, did not believe a single word.
You know, and that's because she was demonized here. A number of things were allowed in this court that should not have been allowed. And it caused the jury to be confused. We weren't allowed to tell them about the UK judgment. So the damages is completely skewed. There are no damages. It stopped at November 2, 2020, which is when the judgment came down in the UK.
Let me ask you about social media in this case. Unlike any celebrity case, certainly I've ever covered or ever seen, social media was a part of this. And it was incredibly lopsided and vitriolic against Amber Heard. Do you think that had an effect on the case?
Absolutely.
Do you think jurors were aware of it? They weren't supposed to be. They were admonished every single day. Don't look at it. Do you think they did see it?
How can you not? They went home every night. They have families. The families are on social media. We had a 10-day break in the middle because of the judicial conference. There's no way they couldn't have been influenced by it. And it was horrible. It really, really was lopsided. And I appreciate your saying that. It's like the Roman Colosseum, you know, how they viewed this whole case. I was against cameras in the courtroom, and I went on record with that and had argued against it because of the sensitive nature of this. But it made it a zoo.
Does your client want to appeal?
Oh, absolutely. And she has some excellent grounds for it. We even had tried to get the UK judgment in to dismiss his case because he already had his shot. And that's one of the issues, but also a number of the evidentiary issues. There was so much evidence that did not come in.
Is she able to pay a $10.4 million judgment?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Finally, in closing arguments, Amber's team argued that this would send a message, that it would send a message that no matter what you do as an abuse victim, you always have to do more. You need to be perfect in order for people to believe you. If she did not get...
Yeah, Johnny Depp, again, had to do more. He lost his case against the Sun, but yet they still want to twist it that it's Amber that's the victim. It's insane.
Favorable verdict. What message do you think this sends?
It's a horrible message. It's, as I said, a setback. It's a significant setback because that's exactly what it means. Unless you pull out your phone and...
See, this body language is constantly shaking her head side to side as if to say, no, that is her tick, her telltale sign to let you know that she's lying.
You video your spouse or your significant other beating you, effectively, you won't be believed.
Elaine Charlson, Greta Hoff, thank you very much for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, liar. There we go. So it's like they want you to forget. So
we are tracking extreme weather, including severe storm.
So what Elaine was saying there was Amber Heard lost because the jury could see all the things that were being said on social media, and saying that was unfair because that was the cause. But yet, just completely ignoring the fact that wants you to forget that Johnny Depp was cancelled on social media. And it wasn't until the public could see the truth, once they knew what was really happening, once they could see Amber and they knew that she was lying, that the tide on social media turned. They want you to ignore that. Ignore the fact that Johnny was the hated one online first, and then was able to prove his innocence. It's insane. They think we are so dumb. There we go. So so that was the little clip there, and tomorrow we should get the full video. So I'm definitely checking this out. I'm going to stream this tomorrow because it is so interesting. Anyway, that's about all I've got time for. So I'll catch you tomorrow with more of this.